Hello, my name is Colby Sharp. I am a 5th grade teacher in Michigan. Welcome to my channel where we try to help kids fall madly in love with reading. Today we are going to be talking about the 20th anniversary of Kate DiCamillo's, 20th anniversary edition of Kate DiCamillo's Because of Winn-Dixie. And basically, I'm always looking for an excuse to talk about one of the greatest books I've ever read in my entire life, and probably my all-time favorite book to read aloud to kids in class. I was trying to think about what I should talk about during this video. I could talk about the characters, I could talk about the dog, I could talk about how much I love it the first time I read it, I could talk about the 20th anniversary edition, which includes an introduction by Ann Patchett and like an afterword by Kate DiCamillo. I could talk about Kate DiCamillo choosing in this book to have Gloria and Opal not read Gone with the Wind, but how she in this edition has switched the book because it was too painful for her to see them sitting there reading that book, and that is not a book she wants to recommend to kids, which, wow. Kate DiCamillo continues to do amazing things. We can talk about all those things. But what I want to talk about is just the scenes that Kate DiCamillo is able to create, and my favorite scene ever to read aloud. And you might be wondering, well, what scene is that? And it could be the opening scene, right? It's got one of the most memorable first pages of a children's book, maybe since, I don't know, Charlotte's Web. It's that beautiful of a first page. Let me just read a moment of that to you. If you haven't read this book in a while, just listen to the beginning here. My name is India Opal Baloney, and last summer my daddy, the preacher, sent me to the store for a box of macaroni and cheese, some white rice, and 2 tomatoes, and I came back with a dog. Boom. It's so good. But that's actually not my favorite scene. My favorite scene to read in this book is Opal and her father, the preacher, when they are searching for Winn-Dixie, who ran off at the big party towards the end of the book when the lightning storm came. And it feels like, it's the climax, right? Everything in this story has built to this moment. Everything has built to Opal telling her dad how she really feels about her mother leaving, how Opal really feels about only knowing 10 things about her mom that all the preacher was willing to tell her. And as they're looking and she's thinking about these 10 things she knows about Winn-Dixie, and then finally the preacher tells her that they have to stop. And I'm just going to read you a little bit. I don't usually do this in books. I don't even know if this is legal, so if it's illegal, sorry, Kate DiCamillo and Candlewick. I just love this so much. So it says, me and the preacher looked for a long time, and finally he said we had to quit. She says, but Daddy, I said, Winn-Dixie's out there, somewhere. We can't leave him. Opal, the preacher said, we have looked, and there's only so much looking we can do. I can't believe you're going to give up, I told him. India Opal, the preacher said, rubbing his nose, don't argue with me. I stood and stared at him. The rain had let up some. It was mostly a drizzle now. It's time to head back, the preacher said. No, I told him, you go ahead and go, but I'm going to keep looking. Opal, the preacher said in a real soft voice, it's time to give up. You always give up, I shouted. You're always pulling your head inside your stupid old turtle shell. I bet you didn't even go out looking for my mama when she left. I bet you just let her run off too. That scene, and it continues, I don't want to keep reading, it's just reading that scene aloud to kids when you have so much invested in the story. It's one of those moments where it's just completely silent, and tears are streaming down the faces of the teacher, me, and the students, and kids are grabbing Kleenex for other kids, and snot, you can hear the sniffles, as kids try to suck the snot back into their heads. It's just why one of the reasons why we love reading, and one of the reasons why books like Because of Winn-Dixie, 20 years later, still have an amazing power in the classroom. It's why Kate DiCamillo has brought so many kids to reading. And I also believe it's why Kate DiCamillo has brought so many teachers to rediscover their love of reading through books like this, through the Mercy Watson series, through Tale of Despero and Edward Tulane. And 20 years later, we are celebrating one of the greatest works of fiction never to be written for children. It is a book that I love. It is a book that I cherish. It is a story that I hold close in my heart. I hope that there's a book out there that you love as much as I love Kate DiCamillo's new Barry Honor winning book, Because of Winn-Dixie. Please let me know down in the comments below what books hold a special place in your heart. What scenes do you love? Is it that scene from Holes where everything comes together and you find out and Stanley sees his name on the chest? Is it when Dwight and Tommy have that moment together where Tommy finds out that Sarah likes him in Tom Engelberger's Strange Case of Origami Yoda? Whatever it is, we read for these scenes, we live for these scenes. Kids fall in love with reading because of these scenes, like Kate DiCamillo has said many times. Stories connect us. My name is Colby Sharp. Thank you so much for tuning in. Dream big.